when you are a trader and you want to be someone who wants to make money in the stock market, I feel like our grandparents, our parents, they probably say invest long term. Long term is safe. Can we still agree with that? Can we still agree that long term is safe? Or in 2022, long term isn't safe? I mean, yes, we can say to ourselves, hey, if we invest in Apple, Apple is a safe long term investment. But also, if we invested into Apple, if we kept on holding, we would be at the same exact price that if we bought in 2020. If I jumped in, let's say on, Peloton, or if I want to jump in on Netflix, these plays investing long term, they're at the same prices they were at 4 years ago. So as we again have progressed throughout the years, as the stock market has changed and technology has changed, we're not calling up a broker and saying, hey, you know what, put me in on this play, I'll hold this for the next 10 years. Do you think it's necessary to actually be day trading or at least swing trading? Or is, again, long-term still safer? Because I feel like you can make an argument in either way. So, Kush, starting off with you, man, what do you think, Kush? Like, should we still be on that old-fashioned, okay, go long-term? Or should it be you have to have a mix, you have to find that balance, you have to be able to have two different portfolios? What are your thought process, man?
Well, I feel like, everyone can be a day trader or a scalper, but it's not everyone wants to do it. So I think everyone should have a long-term portfolio, but in my personal opinion, it should be managed by the individual itself, based off based off your research, right? If it's your money, you should kind of take care of it. And, for the people that don't want to do that, which is, majority of the average person, that's why they give it to big firms like Morgan Stanley and stuff like that, because that's what investment bankers essentially do, right? But I feel like if you're in a spot where, you have a long-term portfolio, you're a little bit into the market, I feel like, once every, 2-3 months, even just once a month, it doesn't hurt to do an analysis on, all right, how is my money treating me? How is the market doing? Just give yourself an overall aspect. TradeCaster is a great way to learn all those things from all the experienced traders here as well. So, maybe if you have a $10,000, $20,000 401k, Roth IRA, or even just long-term portfolio, just hop on a TradeCaster, ask for people's outlooks, hop onto calls like these. And, I feel like if you were to do that, you'd make way greater returns than, anyone else, especially stuff like Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan.
Mm-hmm. No, I do agree with that. And I think that is a great point. I feel like a lot of people who want to be successful and want to be able to make as much money as possible, they have their portfolios and they have someone else manage it for them. They basically say, hey, you know what? I have this money. I want to be rich, but you do it. And I feel like that formula doesn't really work. If you want to be successful, I feel like you have to still be in control of your account. And I feel like anyone really could be able to just open up an E-Trade account, be able to have some sense of what's going on in the market, and then for them to be able to make those financial decisions. So, I like your answer. It's basically, and you can, change it in any way I state it right here, but it's basically you should be able to have a long-term investment portfolio, a short-term investment portfolio, but you should be able to have the knowledge at least for you to be able to manage your own, investments.
Agreed. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Caesar, what are you thinking?
For me, So long-term investments where you're looking at 10, 15 years is not as viable as day trading or even swing trading where you're swinging trades for a week, a month, or even 6 months. Reason being is because when people get into long-term investment, they're expecting the particular thing, equity or asset class, to go to the moon. And before it even goes to the moon, there's going to be various moments where it's going to do substantial retracements. And also understanding in the time in which you're coming into the market, where a lot of people that in the last 2 years where they bought into things and now everything is either lower, and then going into the next few years, things are going to get even dramatically lower. Day trading is best because you're able to capitalize on both movements, right? The ups and the downs. So whereas an investor, we could potentially have the same price target, which might be, 5 years down the line, but they're just playing the long haul where they're not even catching the reversals. They're not catching those breakouts and those constant retracements. So as a day trader, you're catching the upward movement, you're catching the downward movement. Whereas as a long-term investor, you're only catching it just the ups, right? So even, having if you want to have like both accounts where you have a long term, day trading and swing trading are definitely more better, especially if you're trying to make money or you want to be able to have like a substantial year, however it may be. Being active as well does is a requirement, but like Kush said, most people, they don't really care to learn, or they just want somebody to do the work for them. And what they don't understand about having someone else manage their money is that when we have a financial crisis and some of these firms, they have certain asset classes that are no longer viable to them, they're going to dump it onto you. They're going to, put it into your specific portfolio, whatever, it saves them, and you end up taking the loss. So anyone that wants to become financially free, they have to obtain some kind of financial IQ, and they also have to manage their funds themselves to a degree, because nobody is going to really care more about their money than them, right? Where if you put it with a financial institution, unless you're a big whale, they're going to look at you kind of sideways. And I mean, most financial firms, for you to even have accounts with them, you have to be an accredited investor, which is a minimum of $250,000 liquid. So that's my thought on it. Day trading is definitely the best way to go. And, coming across you guys, and you guys having many different aspects here that covers, penny stocks, options, and now futures, and someone else, there's like a few people that do options in here. So being somewhere where you have the variety of being able to tackle all these different aspects of the market is definitely ideal.
So, no, awesome answer. AK, I want to get you involved right here. And I'm wondering, because we talk about day trading, and we talk about, getting involved and doing different types of investments. And we're asking, is a long-term better than a short-term? But there's also, I feel like, another very important part to this question. A lot of us are saying, day trading is going to be more profitable and you have to be educated in it. But is there a secret amount of time? We talk about day trading, and a lot of people think that could be within minutes. Some people may think that's within hours. Some people may think that's within a week. Have you, again, found anything in your trading that maybe leads towards, okay, I have the most profitable trades. I've been able to make the most amount of money during this period to this period. If that's a few seconds, then it's a few seconds. Or do you think you have more predictability, let's say, over a span of a few hours or a few days? We talk about short-term investing. What is the best short-term investing time frame in your eyes?
I'll kind of answer this multi-part there, kind of as far as just time, whether you're in a trade, right, or what time frame to be in, just anything. So I would say, and even in your setups, like what you're looking for in your patterns and setups. Yes, you can find patterns and setups that create 5-10 minutes in, I'm going to attack it, or like, hey, I'm going to attack this high day move. To me, the most consistent, by far, successful trades that I've seen, and even you alerted, I haven't really watched most of the other guys, unfortunately, because now I'm going live or whatever I might be doing. But for the most part that I see with most traders, you're waiting for a setup that is setting up for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. I always talk about, of course, how much I preach and teach trend line cracks. It's very simple stuff. But the longer that trend line holds, right? You just it's a 3-hour trend line. It's just been going up this trend line for 3 hours, right? And it's got 6, 7, 8 touches. You're going, man, if this trend line ever cracks, this is going to be an easy money, massive short. Trend line's only 5, 10, 15 minutes long. It's probably not going to be as much of a crack or as much of a pullback. So just for that sake of time, I like setups that are setting up and creating for 30 minutes, an hour plus. Those are money to me. Now, as far as being in a trade, it depends on the setup. Or I say, well, that's the setup, but then also what time of the season is it, right? We know every trend that's kind of setting in, like, hey, right now it's more scalpy. We've seen that recently. This last couple weeks or so, stocks are a little bit more scalpy. Take your small wins, whether it's a SPY 50 cents to $1, small cap plays. If you get 30, 40, 50 cents, you're loving life. It's just real scalpy. And so maybe the trades only last 5 minutes or 3 minutes or a minute because of you scalping. There were times this year where the stock market's trying to say, hey, is it kind of as we always revert to sports, take what the defense gives you. Now that the stock market's giving you 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour pullbacks or spikes that you can stay in the trends. Stay with the trends. Like we always say, whatever the trend is. And so right now it's chop. It's a lot of chop. Take your profits when you have it. Kind of realize what your stop losses, maybe keep those maybe sometimes a little bit tighter. Find a little bit your targets that aren't maybe as elongated. Of course, I'm always going down because I'm such a shorter. And understand that you maybe right now are in short-lived short territory, and maybe long-lived longs where you don't know which one's going to get the full breakout and how long it's going to go. Now, generally, going back to what I said, the longer the setup, love it. and the longer the trades I like. So 30, 45 minutes to an hour. I love when that setup comes. And I don't mind being in plays, and I like being in plays for 5, 10, 15 minutes. To me, those are the most successful plays. Like you guys trading the SPY, and what I've noticed when I trade options, and I've done a few over the last few months, it's when I see a trend line that lasts over an hour, and then I want a 50 cent, if not a dollar plus move. And then I'm in the trade for that almost every time it hits, if not more than that. Trend line cracked yesterday and it dumped down big time. Was a move that you could have stayed in for 10, 15, 20 minutes.
A perfect example is actually right now, if you take a look at the stream.
Right, boom. And I was kind of looking at that.
I
exactly.
know, it's like, you know, this whole entire uptrend's been lasting since 9:30, 10:30, 11:15. And now we are starting to have that, you know, reversal right here. Sometimes, again, trend lines really are, especially when a trend line has set itself on up. Because, you know, when you have a trend line that maybe you're looking too close into it and you start getting false trend lines, it is nice when a few hours go by and you basically have a trend line where you can say to yourself, this is clearly it. This is what makes sense. And when we go from the bullish side to the bearish side, it's that easy money, that predictability, where once we have maybe that hour-long setup and then it starts, you know, fading on down here, that is where we have, you know, the most success and the most predictability. I know we always want to trade within a minute. We always want to finish our day within 30 seconds. But a lot of predictability I do find kind of comes from like that hour-long setup where it just keeps hammering the same support or resistance line. And then a break of that is where we actually get the true credible move.
Kind of like yesterday, real quickly, when you're talking about goals and having kind of small goals and big goals, I call it micro and macro. We're same with trend lines and pullbacks or bounce plays or whatever you want to call it. You're going to have micro, like you're just showing, micro trend lines. We'll probably have a micro pullback. The longer that trend line sets in, you're going to have more of a macro trend line with a macro pullback.
I love it.
And then have your micro and macro goals. Like, you know, hey, start with like a 2,000, 3,000 square foot house. Then you can work up to the deck and cush houses of like 10,000 square feet. You got your Lambos and Ferraris in there. My macro, got those big ones, but you got those micro ones along the way. Don't forget that, team.
Mm-hmm. No, I gotcha. You know, Iggy,
my big goal is to have a video game console like yours in the house, AK.
Hey, well, you know,
I want to play those turtles.
Yeah, and the dogs join in every once in a while. I get the dogs to join in, you know, play a little Ninja Turtles. You know, that's just me. I kind of have the kid goals, right? I have little micro kid goals. I just want some Ninja Turtles to hang out with, some Transformers and some dogs. Put on a platinum album behind me, and I'm ready to rock and roll.
I'm still waiting for your TikTok feed with all the dogs. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So, Iggy, what are your thoughts? If I could just kind of switch things up right here, what are your thoughts? Because I haven't really heard from you, like going into 2023. 2023, you know, we had our fair share of people saying disaster, recessions. You know, where's your mindset right now going into 2023? Is it just going to be, hey, we just fell 20% on the year, 19% currently at the moment. Hey, this is it. We got through the worst of it, or is the worst still yet to come?
Well, actually, you know, listening to some of the commentators on CNBC yesterday, a lot of whom I think are terrible. There were some good comments from people ranging from I have no idea where the market's going next year to you know, I believe that the market's going to retrace all the way back down to the pre-pandemic highs. And if you look at that level, that is a really interesting level that we could go all the way back to if the market continues this downtrend that it's been in. And if you think about the kind of the macro conditions that are out there, you know, what is going to make this market go higher as opposed to lower? It seems like, you know, we could have more escalation in Russia. There could be other issues in China. I mean, on a macro level, it looks as though things are like the market wants to go back, retrace all the way back to that pre-pandemic high. I can't say that I know one way or the other, that's for sure. But that would be a level that it could get down to. I think that would be a really good level to get in if you were looking to enter around there for a bounce. But ultimately, I can't predict, you know, I don't think anybody can predict where the market is gonna end up. But to go back to what you were talking about with as far as, you know, can you invest long term? Should you just be day trading right now? I mean, you know, it definitely depends on your time frame. If you are okay with doing, the Kathy Woods thing, well, chances are in 5 years,
What's the Kathy Woods thing? Just
the
invest and
5 year
lose all your
plan.
money? That thing?
Yeah, lose all your, the Kathy Woods 5 year plan. She's every time that she loses more money, she talks about, you've got to be a long term holder. I mean, that's ridiculous. You've got to have stop losses. You've got to have areas where you're going to get out, even if it's a long term investment. I think, unless you're just going to continue to scale in, I think you've got to be willing to cut losses. And I mean, I heard Jim Lebenthal saying something yesterday that I thought was like just ridiculous, but he was talking about you haven't taken a loss until you sell. I mean, that's ludicrous. Of course you've taken a loss before you sell, and if
I mean, that's like, you ever hear the saying, for anyone who has a gambling problem, 99% of gamblers quit before their first big win. You can't be a quitter. You just got to keep hammering it down there. If you want to be a great gambler, you just can't stop, so that's the old saying right there.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do this, you've got to have stop losses. You've got to have areas where even on a long-term time horizon, I think you've got to decide, okay, I want to hold this for a while, but at some point, at this point, I'm going to get out. I'm just going to take that loss and I'm just going to move on.
Yeah.
Even if it's a long-term thing, so I don't think that a long-term investment, it means you just hold it forever and either regardless.
Oh, I gotcha. Curious, Kush, just going back to you right here. If you had to say, because I don't want to be biased towards one side or another here, but what would you say is, if you had to think about the outside perspective, what would you say is the one pro or the one reason people would think that the market's going to go on up? And what would you say is the one con that people believe that the market's going to go on down? Like, if you had to think about both sides, and we can go through everyone right here, what's the one reason why people are arguing, hey, stock market's going up in 2023? And what's the reason why people are definitely going to argue, why are we going to drop down in 2023? So, what would be kind of your two reasons for a one going up, one going down? Could you see both sides of the party? What do you think the argument is, and which way, of course, are you leaning?
So the way I'm leaning is, well, first off, I'll go why people think it's going to go up and why people think it's going to go down. So, I mean, like you said a couple months ago, historically, since I think like the 1980s, every single time there's a regular, the year after is 20% plus, right? So just based off that history. But again, for like the past couple of years, we've had a Santa rally. We haven't really had a Santa rally. So I think that there's a certain amount where you can trust the previous data, and there's just a certain amount of uncertainty, in the market as well, right? So again, interest rates are so high, and I mean, I know that Jerome Powell said that they'll slowly go down and stuff like that, but as of right now, there is just a lot of indecision. So I'm personally not biased towards one side or the other. I think by end of January I'll be able to have a better understanding of it. But I do have something that my fund manager texted me on his entire outlook of it, and he said we just had all-time highs on put to call ratio ticker is CPC on Trading View. That most likely means we'll squeeze up a little bit overall. The trend is down. The bottom isn't in for S&P and NASDAQ. Watch for the Dow since it broke the downtrend since last year. It doesn't make a new low. That means we have bottomed. DXY, the dollar index, is also breaking out, which is inversely correlated with the market. I don't think the bottom is in yet, but I expect the bottom to happen around February or March time. 32.50 price target for SPX.
Yeah, and that's like right at that level. That's the pre-pandemic highs right there.
Correct. Yeah.
320 was, by the way, 320
nobody
was
can
what I
say it's
called out
going
the
there,
round
right?
table back in October.
Right. Nobody can say it's going there for sure, but if it does, that seems like where it's going to end up.
Correct. Yep.
So you're still leaning towards that downside?
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Do you
For
see
at least the next couple
any
months.
pros? Do you see any positive on why would we bounce back on up? Because I mean, it like Iggy said a really cool kind of way to say it before. He's like, a lot of people believe it's going to go down, and they have reasons. Is there a reason on why someone would argue the market is going to climb right now? Do you have a reason on why that? Do you think anyone has a reason?
on straight up technicals, not really. I mean, the chart pretty much shows a downtrend, right? Just a potential minor retracement to the upside would be the only thing, but it's not going to move the market. Anything that's going to be, any reason for you to switch your overall long-term analysis is not going to be presented, right? Within the next couple of weeks for sure. But I think the charts present the downside. I mean, there's no reason unless everyone wants to start the new year out with the crazy bang. Other than that, like I said, downside is most likely to happen here.
Caesar, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Both sides are saying, hey, is there a reason on why it would spike? Or is there a reason on why it would climb here?
Reason why the market will spike is if the Feds indicate that they're going to pause or even ease. If they say that, then we'll definitely end up getting a nice little spike. But overall for 2023, I'm expecting a massive downside in the market, more around geopolitical issues. China, Taiwan is the biggest catalyst that I'm watching for. So with Taiwan potentially being pulled back into the folds of China, and knowing that how China feels about the US and certain things, I feel that once that happens, because China's been basically positioning themselves since 2019 to go after Taiwan by building military bases off islands off the coast of Taiwan. And that was never really spoken about until maybe a few months ago this year. So I've been tracking this for the past few things, and I think that that's going to be the catalyst that causes the market to really capitulate and possibly, head back down to those COVID lows. So that's my personal outlook on that. But I am awaiting if the Feds do indicate that they're going to ease or pause. That would definitely cause a massive rally. But I believe that will be short-lived. And I'm still going to be looking to the downside because inflations are still high. But I don't think the Feds are going to do that because they're so determined and keeping up with what they said they're going to do. So given that aspect, I'm pretty bearish overall for at least for the first 2 quarters of 2023.
AK, if you want to answer this one as well, you definitely can. I'm just curious, because AK-47 loves, trading penny stocks and everything along those lines. And we've seen a nice increase in penny stock hype over the last few days. As you know, obviously we have HOTH, went absolutely bonkers today. Very nice big spike, very nice rip and run. We've had AMAM go on this massive spike, massive run. We've had COSM go on this massive rip, massive spike. We've seen VRNA go on a very nice rip and run. We've seen MDGL. It kind of seems like breakouts just came back to life, almost overnight, which is, I'm very excited about it and very happy about it. Going into this end of the year, do you think this is going to continue? Do you think, this penny stocks, that they're back? And I know MDGL is not a penny stock, but just had a great breakout. Do you think these breakouts are back? Because it seems like in 2022, we did have some slower kind of breakouts. It was more about trends, and it was more, to watch the S&P 500, all this volume in small caps and penny stocks. What are your thoughts currently on this, current penny stock market?
No, I don't think so. Just because they're not holding their gains. I mean, if you look at COSM, go back to AM, just every stock, even Hoth, I guarantee you by tomorrow or by Tuesday of next week, first day of the year. But you can go back. AMAM's the other one. AMAM, there's the other one. When they start holding their gains and we're doing all the just simple stuff you taught us, like mid candle breakouts. When we start seeing those, then that's when I say penny stocks will be back. We're like, say AMAM's right still at say $5 or $6 because it spiked to 10 to 15. COSM went to 30, 40 or something and is still at 15, 20 or at least or something. These stocks that just go up and go straight back down, as well as I do what that does to overall. We're going to continue seeing what this day. Then, like you said, it's high school. Oh, he's hot. Now she's hot. Then she's hot. She's hot. Damn, she's hot. She's fine. Oh, yeah. Oh, damn, something happened to her. And then 4 or 5 days later, we're going over to a new girl, right? That just hasn't happened. And until that starts happening, we're just not there, unfortunately. So I think we have one day. And that's why I still have been in such a shorting pattern overall, just not holding our gains. It's nice to see. And I've kind of seen these patterns over the last few years where, and I'll real quickly, because I think I may have said this in the last round table, but for small cap to mid cap traders, circle Thanksgiving, which is the very last Thursday in November. The full week before that, hot. You're getting your turkey hot and ready. It's hot. The week after that, what? You're eating cold turkey. It's cold, right? Black Friday, everyone's shopping, spending money. It's always cold. The second full week of December, check it. That's when AM ran. That's when we'll get hot again. So I'm not surprised we're getting hot at this time. We typically normally do, and I know you know that. I just don't think it spills over to 2023 overall. I hope we get there, but I know you love shorting these plays almost probably more than it. I know we love breakouts, but I know you love shorting these plays. So it's nice to see we're getting plays to pop up to at least get massive, amazing shorts out of.
Absolutely. Iggy, you got anything to add right here? We got about a minute left over here, Iggy. Any sort of final thoughts you got on the market, penny stocks, anything that's on your head?
No, it's been a pleasure. This has been great. I'm glad that we got to do this, and I think you just got to. I mean, the main thing to think about when you're trading is you've got to have your plan. You got to have your stops in place. You got to have decide what what works for you as a trader. What your setups are. Figure that out. Stick with your stops. Basics. Indicators. And as opposed to just big macro things, what's going to happen to the market, it comes down to day, following your plan and sticking with your plan and figuring out like what works for you, like what are your setups.
No,
Hey,
absolutely.
quick question, Deck.
What?
Do you want to do an analysis what everyone thinks S&P will do end of Jan like we did for December?
Ooh, I'm down with that. The only issue is we got less than a minute.
All right, I'm gonna stick to my number of 332.
332. Hold on. Oh man, we're gonna here. I'm gonna lose you guys here in a second. Everyone, go over to my chat and type in then. What you guys think we are gonna get at the end of January. All right. But I'm going to lose you guys here in a second. But I also just want to say shout out to everyone right here that's joining us on this live stream. You guys can watch them every single day over on tradecaster.com. Kush, Caesar, Iggy, AK47, Active Trader, all Juan Trades that usually join us. You guys are absolutely amazing. And again, shout out to you guys. And I just want to say thank you for joining us over here on, again, this roundtable discussion.